Hello, I'm Christopher, a research software engineer with Research Software Workshops, and it's a very warm welcome to Beginning R Part 2. All of the course material is here at chriswoods.com/beginningar, and now at Part 2 we're going to be looking at data types. Now in the last chapter we introduced the idea of strings. They were a way for us just to write some text, to write normal human words inside the R script, which we then printed to the screen, so remember hello from R. Now these are placed within double quotes. So hello from R is a string with 3 words, and an exclamation mark is content, well there isn't actually one here. And then strings can contain numbers as well. So in this case we have a string, the Battle of Hastings was in 1066. So string is basically any text that you place between double quotes. They can even be empty. So here we have an empty string, just a pair of double quotes with nothing between it. Now it is possible in R to be able to use single quotes to make strings, as long as you do use single quotes on both sides, but in general we tend to prefer double quotes just as a convention. So this now brings us to the very first exercise of the workshop. What we want to do now is change hello.r so you have a different string inside it. Now make sure you save the file and you rerun it in the terminal and see if you can print a different string to the screen. What we're going to do now is I'm going to give you just a few minutes to do that, so feel free to press pause on the video while you have a chance. And then, when you unpause, I'll come and look at the answer. Okay, I assumed you paused then, and now you've unpaused, so let's have a look at the answer. So what we're going to do is we're going to be changing the hello from R to have something else written in it. So feel free here to put anything you want. So I'm going to write down, this is a YouTube course, so it's now basically a new string has been placed in here. It's in double quotes, this is a YouTube course. We've gone red here, so I now need to save this. And now that I've saved it, I can rerun the script, R script, hello.r, and you can now see it's printed our new string. Now I could have put any string I wanted into here, even with some numbers in. This is the number 42, save that, and now I run it. So we can now see this is a YouTube course, this is the number 42. And as we said before, you can have empty strings as well. So if I now basically take this out and we print an empty string, what you'll see printed to the screen is an empty string, nothing. Now, strings are just one of the data types that we have in R. There are 2 other main data types. So we have floats. So floats are floating point numbers. So this means numbers with a decimal place. So 1.0, 1.5, 23.1, etc. And then we have integers. And integers are what we mean by whole numbers, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now to create a number, we don't use quotes, we just place the number directly. So 3.14159 is a float, 42 is an integer, and you see now if I put the number directly, so I'm going to put 42 directly in here, and I print it. There we have the number directly printed to the screen. Equally, if I put in 3.141 and save it, here we have the number directly printed to the screen. Now, of course, it's not really that much use to just have numbers and strings floating about and having to type them and print them, directly. We need to have some way of connecting these things together. We want to really be able to name them. And we assign names to bits of data by using this symbol. So I'm going to create a variable here called pi. And I'm going to say pi is going to be the name we're going to give to this number, 3.14159. Now what I can do, this number, this floating point number 3.14159 has been assigned using this symbol, so less than hyphen means assign to the variable pi. And if I now type print pi, what this will do is it will now print the number 3.14159. That's because when I've done print pi, R has gone, aha, pi is the name of a variable which is holding a piece of data, in this case a floating point number. So go and find the number which pi is naming, in this case 3.14159, and then print that to the screen, which we can see here. Now you might be surprised if you come from another programming language to see me use this assignment operator, this sort of assignment sign here, because you might be used to other languages using equals for this purpose. So we say pi equals 3.14159. Now you can do that in R, indeed if I run this now, you will see this has worked. So you can use equals in R, but generally that's discouraged. Our users prefer that you use this symbol, so less than a hyphen, to mean a sign. So this now brings us on to the second exercise in this workshop. So what I want you to do now is I want you to edit your hello.r script and split it over 2 lines. The first line should create a string and give it to a variable name, and then the second line should use that name to print. Remember to save the file and rerun it in the terminal when you've completed it. So again, press pause, and that will enable you to have a go while you're waiting without me giving you the answer straight away. Okay, so I assume now you've unpaused, you've had a go, you've had a play with this. Let's have a go through the answer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a variable here called words. And in the variable words, I'm going to assign the piece of data, the string, the Battle of Hastings was in 1066. And now this string, the Battle of Hastings was in 1066, has been assigned to the variable words. So now I will print words. I've saved, I will run the script. And now you can see here that has printed the value of the variable words, which is the string, the Battle of Hastings was in 1066. Now variables are much more than just a way of labeling data. They also make it much easier to do things with your data. So if you have some numbers you can add them, multiply and divide them as you would expect. So let's imagine here I'm going to create a variable. So I clear this out. So I'm going to create a variable called distance in miles. And I'm going to assign this the value 30. We can then say that the distance in kilometers, abbreviate that there, is going to be the distance in miles multiplied by 1.60934. And if we now print the distance in kilometers, what we've done here is we've now converted the distance in miles, which is 30, to the distance in kilometers, which is 48.2, because we have multiplied the variable distance in miles by the floating point number 1.601,60934. So here we've created the variable distance in miles. We then used that variable here in this next line to multiply it, and then assigned the result of that calculation to the variable distance in kilometers. And then finally we printed it. Now, much the same way as we can do multiplication, we can also do addition and subtraction. So let's imagine here I'm going to create a variable called temperature in Celsius. I'm going to assign that a value of 25.1. We can then say the temperature in Kelvin, which is another temperature scale, and that relates to the temperature in Celsius by just adding on, temperature in Celsius, add on 273.15. I can then print the temperature in Kelvin. And notice that R is completing this for me. It's actually RStudio is very nice in that it's helping me to complete my text. I'll show you how in a sec. Okay, so that's now printed 298.25 because 298.25 Kelvin is the equivalent of 25.1 Celsius. Now we can't use mathematical operations on strings, so we can't add together strings. We can only use add, subtract, multiply and divide on numbers. So if we wanted to join strings together, what we're going to need to do is use another function. So let's imagine I have here a greeting, so a variable called greeting, to which I'm assigning the string hello. I have a variable called name, to which I'm assigning the string r. In some languages, you could have greeting plus name, and that would work, but this is not something you can do in R. So instead, to be able to join together two strings, we use the function called paste. So in this case, I'm going to create a new variable called message, and to message, I'm going to give it the result of pasting greeting and name. If I now print the message, save that and run, you can now see it's pasted, joined together the value of greeting, which was hello, the value of name, which is R, and then message now equals hello space R, which is what we've printed to the screen. So that's now walked through all of this material, and we've now reached the next exercise. So what I want you to do is I want you to edit your hello.r so that the string is made together by adding two strings together. make sure you do save the file and rerun it in the terminal, and press pause now and I'll give you the answer in a second. Okay, I assume you've now unpaused, so I can now give you the answer to this exercise. So it's basically what I showed you just now when we were working. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another phrase here. So I'm going to say the first phrase is going to be equal to the Battle of Hastings. Second phrase is going to be equal to was in 1066. And then the message is going to be created by pasting together the first phrase. And notice when I type F, then R, it will very soon, there we are, autocomplete, because RStudio will try and guess what I was typing. And in this case, it's right. So if I press the tab key, it finishes the rest of the phrase. And then second phrase, yep, that's right. I'll go with that. And then I'll print this new message. So if I now save this and then I run, the Battle of Hastings was in 1066. That's worked. We've had two separate variables, first phrase and second phrase, paste, joined them together into a new bit of data, which was the Battle of Hastings was in 1066. That's assigned to a new variable called message, which we've then passed to the function print, which has printed it to the screen, which you can see printed here. Now so far, we've been giving the print function just a single argument to print, and it just prints a single thing. Now we can print many things at once if we use this paste function to join them together into a single string. Now, as you've seen here with paste, if you want to pass more than one argument to a function, you separate those arguments using commas. So I can pass multiple things to print by doing print, paste, hello, comma, R. So I've now passed two things to paste, so we then printed two variables or two bits of data. So what I want you to do now as the final exercise in this part is I want you to edit your hello R so that the two parts of the phrase are pasted and then passed to print as separate arguments rather than pasting them together into a variable and then printing the combined message. And as always, make sure you save the file and rerun it in the terminal. Again, press pause and I'll show you the answer in a second. Okay, I assume you've unpaused, you're ready for the answer. So what I'm going to do is effectively just what I showed you here. So the first phrase, again, is going to be that the Battle of Hastings. And you can see I've mistyped that. That's definitely not the assignment operator. And then we have here's the second phrase, was in 1066. And then I'm going to print both of them in one line. So I'm going to print, paste, first phrase, second phrase. And now if we put this together, you should see the Battle of Hastings was in 1066. Okay, that's brought us now to the end of this part, which means we can now move on to the next video, which will be part 3, and I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you.